Welcome back, everybody. We are kicking off our Squawk Heads of State series this morning with Florida and its Governor, Rick Scott. And Governor Scott, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Sounds like we're still having a little bit of a problem, sir. Can you hear?
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, now we can hear you too. We are kicking off this new series trying to get a feel for what's happening with the economy around the country, and we're hoping you can tell us a little bit about what's happening in Florida. I realize the job situation is heading in a different direction there, that you guys are seeing better numbers every month, but it's also coming off some pretty high levels. Why don't you tell us about what the job situation is in Florida?
Well, first off, I hope all those Chinese tourists come to Florida. Our tourism industry is doing really well this year. Yeah, when I started in January, unemployment was 12% and it's dropped every month. The latest numbers we have is May. So it's gone from 12% now down to 10.6. So that's very good. In the month of May, we generated 28,000 jobs. All 49 other states only generated 26,000. So we're heading in the right direction. We just have to keep it up month after month. So we're in the opposite direction of the national numbers, which are starting to trend up right now.
And was it tourism that led things back? And what's still holding things from a real recovery? Is it the housing situation?
Well, tourism is really good right now. We had a great winter season this year in the South, and now we're having a great season in the Panhandle. The life sciences have come back. We do a lot in aviation. We're the fourth biggest exporter in the country. We've got a lot of technology in Florida. So those things are all heading in the right direction. Housing has picked up. The prices haven't, but the number of house sales have picked up quite a bit. And, everybody wants to have a second home in Florida, so now's the time for everybody to buy because our prices have come down a little over 40% from our high. So a lot of people are coming down and buying second homes, and a lot of people are starting to move back.
What you're seeing in Florida is a little bit of a microcosm of what's happening on a national level. You're in a situation where you're trying to cut taxes. Right now, half of all corporations don't pay taxes, and you'd like to see zero corporations pay taxes?
Absolutely. Taxes have an impact on where people locate. As you know, we don't have a personal income tax, and we have a small business tax, 5.5%. And here we created a credit, so now almost half the business owners that paid last year won't pay this year. And it has an impact. People are coming in and saying, look, I can see that you're going to phase it out, because part of my campaign was to phase out the business tax over the next 7 years, or now 6 years. And they can see that we're going to get that done. So we're having lots of companies coming back to Florida or coming to Florida. I mean, if you think about it, we've got a lot of inherent advantages. No personal income tax. They see we're phasing down the business tax. People want to live in Florida. They like the weather, the beaches, the lakes, the rivers. Companies that are doing business in Central and South America, they want to be in the sort of Palm Beach to Miami area. As you know, the Panama Canal is being expanded. With that, our ports are going to be some of the ports that do really well. Our Miami port in particular, we're going to make sure we're ready with our dredging so we can take the post-Panamax ships. When that's finished, that's at least 30,000 new private sector jobs. So all these things, you add them all up, and we're in a great position.
Well, you cut property taxes, too, by about $210 million. And I guess that just leaves me wondering, where does the state get its revenue, and what are some of those numbers?
Sure. Our revenues are sales tax, which at the state level is 6%, and then property taxes. But, we're just a state that we watch, we're probably the most fiscally responsible state in the country. Our per capita tax at the state level is half of what it is in New York, for example. So we just don't, we don't spend the money that other states spend. And so people know that they can come here, and if you're in business, you know that you can put more money into jobs, into marketing, into capital investment rather than into taxes. So a lot of people want to come here for that reason.
Governor, we know how important Florida is. We all remember 2000. So the national scene watches very closely what's happening down there. And you came in not as a politician, but really as a former CEO, and you're kind of running the state like a CEO. You're doing things that are unpopular that we're seeing around the country. Things like getting rid of tenure for teachers or LIFO. You're making state employees. They were contributing zero to their pension, and now they have to contribute 5%, and you're vilified. Aren't there people with signs and picketing and strikes but your approval rating, all of this has caused you to fall to 29%. Is that what the National Republican Party is looking at for as a payback for trying to do all these things?
No, look, in the national election next year, the reason I won my race is because I ran on a campaign to get our state back to work. That's our biggest problem in the country. We need jobs. And the winner next year is going to be the person that figures out how to explain to the American public their plan to get our country back to work. So we've done, we've made all the tough decisions. We are state employees weren't paying into the pension plan. Now they pay 3%. We've turned education into what's for the benefit of kids. Now our principals will be able to get rid of bad teachers because we're getting rid of tenure. We have merit pay for teachers. That's what you do in the private sector. We expanded our charter schools, which are public schools that are run by third parties, so our parents have more choices, no different than what you do in business. So all these things, they're paying, and it's paying off. Our unemployment's dropped every month.
Daniels did this in Indiana, and he had enough time, I guess, to where his numbers have come back. But you can't lead if you're not in office. And I just wonder if this is a proxy for what the Republic is. All these unpopular, hard to take, Medicare, dealing with these things that affect people's lives make it very difficult to stay in office. And I wonder if what's happening in Florida is a harbinger for the Republicans in 2012.
No, I think what the key is going to be is jobs coming back. And if you can see,
still over 10%, though, Governor. I mean, I know you were higher than that, but you can't say look 10.6% down here. People can add. We know it's 9.2 nationwide.
Sure, but the key is the trend that we're heading in. We're heading down, and the country's heading up. Look, everybody, we're competing for the hearts and minds of business owners in the country. Where do they want to start their business, expand their business, move their business? I talk about competing with Governor Perry in Texas all the time. Last 10 years, he's been a job creator, and I'm going to make sure that Florida is. The key to our state, and I ran on a campaign of getting our state back to work. Look, I started school living in public housing, and my parents didn't make much money. I know that the key is jobs, and jobs are going to be tied to keeping taxes fair, regulation. I've gotten rid of a lot of regulation that just doesn't make any sense, and make sure we don't have frivolous lawsuits. That's going to be the key to job creation. That's why I ran, and that's why our state's going to do well.
Governor, when you look at the national debate, what's your takeaway? I realize Florida's done things differently, but it's a lot harder to take an entire nation and say, okay, we're headed this direction. What would you be doing at a national level when it comes to these debt talks?
Well, first off, we cannot raise taxes. We've already got the second highest corporate tax rates in the world. I call on companies. I do trade missions around the world. I call on companies, and part of it is they're going to locate where the taxes, away from the high taxes. And so we cannot raise any taxes. We've got to cut spending. Look, the American public knows that we spend enough in our taxes, whether it's local, state, or federal. There's enough revenues there. Prioritize, spend it better. That's what I've had to do in Florida. That's what they need to do on a national basis. If we do that, the jobs will come back. People want to do their business in America. But we've got to. We cannot raise taxes.
All right, Governor, I want to thank you very much for your time today.
All right, thanks a lot. Have a great day.
We appreciate it. Again, Governor Rick Scott of Florida.